All right, football fans, welcome to the NFL Week 16 Pick'em Show. We got Omar Youssef. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. I'm gonna just try to stay warm out here. It's pretty crazy how cold it is, but hoping praying for everybody's safety. I know a lot of people are traveling, like being Christmas the eve of Christmas Eve. So just
Yeah,
hoping that people get to their families and their loved ones like safely.
yeah, man. A lot of people were going to that risk convention in Toronto. I heard a lot of flights got canceled, and there was a lot of driving in the snow. And it's single digits here. I honestly haven't felt this cold in maybe like at least over a year. At least like maybe 2 years. I don't remember it being like this cold, this single digits for a long time here. So yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But anyway, that's going to be a theme this week because there's going to be a lot of games that feel like negative degree, actually, like -1, -2 in a lot of these games this week.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So we're going to go ahead and start with that first one. Buffalo Bills at the Chicago Bears. The Bills here are favored by 8 points, and it's going to be 9 degrees projected in this game, but I think it's going to feel like negative temperature here. So one of the many, frigid atmospheres this week. I think there's going to be at least 5 or 6 that are played in single digits and what feel like negative.
Sheesh.
So yeah, what do you think is going to happen in this one? Bills at Bears.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I never I totally missed the the games being impacted by the cold front.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's funny? Like both of these teams are probably a little used to like the cold weather. I'm sure nobody ever gets like that used to it, but I don't think that they'll be as impacted in terms of them being caught off guard. I think the Bills are. I'm going to take the Bills here. The spread, like you said, it's like 8.5. I think right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the Bills probably want to get hot. They're gunning for that one seed. I think they have the inside track. So I think the Bills win, and I think they win pretty handedly here. The Bears don't really have much to play for. Um, the only thing is like, and I feel like the Bears have done this all year. Is they will they will get down by a lot, right? And then they will start coming back into the game. Now they won't like get close. There's no real threat of them winning the game, but I think they cover the spread basically.
Mm.
So I would not be surprised if this is a game where it's like 28 to like 10 at some point, and then the Bears start coming back, and like the final score is like 28 to 21 or 28 to 24, something like that, even though the game itself is a lot more lopsided than what it shows.
Exactly. Yeah, when I looked at this game, I thought this is the type of game that I could see Chicago upsetting, just because it's cold weather. Like you said, cold weather. You run more. Justin Fields, essentially, that's all he does, and it feels like every time I watch him, he gets faster.
Yeah,
It's so weird, like just he's deceptively quick, and he wasn't like this in his first year. So he's really developed that part of his game, and you know when it really comes down to it, like you said, it's Chicago doesn't really know how to finish games. I mean, in the sense that they build themselves such a deep hole and they're not able to come back. And at this point, I think that they are kind of close to securing that draft spot. I think they're like built into that. I think that number two. I think they're kind of set there, or um, I think they've already kind of secured that spot, and I think they're going to start benching maybe some of their star players that have injuries or whatnot. So on the other side, the Bills still do have something to play for, playoff positioning. So I could see the Bills upsetting here, but I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to go with the Bills winning this game 30-20. So moving on now to the next game, the New Orleans Saints at the Cleveland Browns. Browns here are favored by 3, and this is going to be another. They're saying 11 degrees, but probably feels like again negative temperatures or single digits. What do you see in
right.
this game?
Oh, I think this is a game with Cleveland with this. Like on paper, I think that these teams are probably not too far apart, but I think that this is a game where I think the Saints could be impacted by the cold weather, playing outdoors. They've historically just been a different team when they played outdoors as opposed to in that dome. So I think the Browns will cover. Close game, nothing like a blowout, but the Browns are an interesting team. I don't really know what to think of them. I feel like the midseason or the three-fourths of the season quarterback change that they made, I think, kind of disrupted the flow of their offense. Like I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it's funny, they were saying that Amari was actually playing better with Brissett, or at least his numbers were better with Brissett. And I think it's because you have continuity, you have flow of the offense, everything is kind of clicking. Not that they were a good team, but everything is more efficient because you have repetition, you have things going. So
sure.
I think I think that might have disrupted things a little bit, but I think the Browns are probably still like a slightly more talented team. The one thing that can throw a wrench into that would be the Saints defense kind of playing up to what I think they can be. I just don't know if they have enough to kind of overcome the offensive kind of challenges that they have. And from last I remember, I don't think Chris Olave is playing this week. I probably have to double check that. But if he's not playing, then I think the Browns definitely win this game, and I think it's I'll say 24-17, Cleveland wins.
Close one.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I can't see the Saints thriving in this kind of weather. Not only do they play in a dome, but they also play in that South Division, where you're not really playing any teams in this kind of weather. So, like you mentioned, Olave is out. Watson, he started off really, really rusty. I mean, we could tell those first two games really rusty. He's starting to play a little bit better. He's starting to knock off some of the rust. And Donovan Peoples-Jones is really emerging. Amari, I think, of course, he's like an amazing weapon for him. Whether the synergy is not there yet, hopefully, I think it'll probably develop. So I'm also going to take the Browns to win this in a bit of a low-scoring game, though, 14-12. So moving now to a divisional battle, Houston Texans at Tennessee Titans. Titans are favored by 3 here. Even though it's in Tennessee, this is going to be another cold game. This is going to be 17 degrees, they're predicting. So what do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, man. Well, at the forefront, I just got to say, it seems like I might have been wrong about Tennessee. We talked about this a month ago, and I said, oh yeah, I think Tennessee is going to start humming. They're going to start, cold weather. This is their type of, their type of game is suited for this type of football. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about them. Like, they're 7-7. They're kind of run of the mill, kind of like a mediocre / lower end playoff team. And I think that that's kind of what we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they blow out the Texans here, to be quite honest with you. The Texans have kind of given the Cowboys and the Chiefs a good fight the last 2 weeks. But I think that might have been like their last collective breath, right? I don't other than the players and their pride and them trying to win, I don't really think Houston cares whether they win or lose, and I think the Titans are obviously trying to win this division. With Jacksonville breathing down their neck, they have a lot to play for. So, I would imagine that the Titans get rolling here, at least in this game. I don't know if it'll carry over. I don't trust them. But I think, in this game, I can see them getting that running game going, especially when it's this cold. So I'll say Tennessee takes this 23-10. I'll say 23-10 Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is out for the season now. They just, I think, announced that this week. So Malik Willis, man, this guy, I think he's an absolute disaster. I think he's actually one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen play this year, like worse than Zach Wilson. You mentioned this. Texans almost beat the Cowboys and the Chiefs. It took overtime for them to win those games. Those are both elite teams, and this is a team with one win. They do have a lot of fight. Um, they already have the number one overall pick secured, so I
Oh,
don't think
they already have it locked.
I think so because the second team has 3 wins, they have one, and how many games is it 2 or 3 weeks left? So they may not, but I think that they're I don't know I think in their minds I don't think the coaching staff is going to think about we have to continue to lose to get this
Right.
number one pick. That because I think that they've had that mindset for a while, but now it's just like let them loose. We're gonna get a top pick. It doesn't really matter at this point. And I think that they were kind of holding them back in previous weeks. So I'm actually gonna call the upset here. I'm gonna say the Texans stack the box to stop Derrick Henry, and they win this game 21-17.
You might be right. So I actually completely blanked on Ryan Tannehill being out
It
for the
just
year.
happened. Yeah, they just said
Yeah.
he's going to be out for the season. Yeah.
So I mean, I'll stick with my pick because I made it, but I wouldn't be surprised. And that's a good point about it doesn't really matter if Houston wins here because you're right. It looks like they're the only one-win team in the league. Only the Bears are like the second worst at 3 wins. So
Yeah.
they kind of have a margin for error here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and it's going to be. If the Titans do, I think they're going to lose this game. And if they do, there's going to be some serious stuff that's like going on. I think with this coaching staff, and I don't know. It just feels like they've been underperforming a little bit. There might be like a firing of a coordinator or something like that. I could see that happening. So move on to another cold game here. One that I'm not really looking forward to. Seattle Seahawks at Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 10. This is the biggest line of the week. It's going to be, they're saying 13 degrees, but again, it's going to feel like -1. Uh, I'll let you go first here. What do you think is going to happen?
All right, I'll make it quick so you have enough time. I think this spread is that's a little too high. I just that's a little disrespectful to a team that's kind of competing for a wild card spot and very much in the hunt. Um, you know, the Seahawks are apparently I'm looking at it 29th in points allowed, which is a little. I didn't
They're
think
terrible.
it was that bad.
They're so bad.
I know you mentioned I didn't think it was that bad, but you know, so okay. I am unfortunately, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this game.
I don't blame you.
But I don't know, man. I would like to give a wild card team more respect than that. So I will say it'll be something like 30-23 with the Seahawks kind of like fighting back towards the end. Because I do think they at this point not desperate, but I think there's a sense of urgency going on right now. So I do imagine that the Chiefs will probably be up early here, and the Seahawks will be trying to catch up. I think that's kind of how I see this game going. But yeah, man, I'll give you the rest of the floor for the rest of the time.
Man, Pete Carroll last week in the press conference, he had this like look in his eye that said, everyone's going to count us out against the Chiefs, but we're going to bring something to them. I think he's going to really, really prepare this team to play this game like he does for a lot of games. I mean, they beat the Chiefs, I think last year, 2 years ago, when Patrick Mahomes was like they're having like an amazing season. They'll come out and play tough in these games, whether they win them or not. But like you mentioned, Hawks' run defense is absolutely pathetic. I think they are. You said points allowed, they're 29th, but their run defense is like I think last in the league. I think they're the worst run defense in the league, which is crazy for a team that's fighting for a wild card spot. But the pass defense is actually surprisingly stout when you're talking about just the receivers, right? So Tariq Woolen, actually, they're not even really throwing at his side anymore, and he is absolutely on par with Ahmed Gardner for Defensive Rookie of the Year. A lot of people are not even talking about Tariq Woolen for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but they absolutely should. He should be in that conversation with Ahmed Gardner. The problem is the Chiefs have great running backs and a great tight end. Okay, Pacheco, McKinnon, Allaire, and then of course Travis Kelce, and those are the people that that the Hawks suffer with. I mean, they have such a problem with and then also Tyler Lockett is out of this game, and you're talking about Marquise Goodwin as a number 2 receiver. Of course, it's just common sense to pick the Chiefs in this game. But you know what? I have no common sense. I'm gonna pick with my heart here, and I'm gonna go with Gino and DK hooking up for 4 touchdowns somehow, and them eking out this game 31-30. Because if they don't, their playoffs hopes are pretty much out. So I'm picking with my heart here. I'm just gonna say 31-30. Them eking out this game. So whatever. Bismillah.
I hope it
Anyway,
happens, man. I hope it happens.
me too.
It'd be a hell of a story.
Me too. Me too. Anyway, moving on. New York Giants at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are favored by 4 here after the Giants were gifted that game against Washington last week. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
You know, it's funny. I feel like both of these teams are coming off of wins that were very emotionally high in like kind of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings obviously had that crazy game where they came back, right? 33 points, the biggest comeback in NFL history. And the Giants, like you said, that's, you're kind of gifted that win with the last second no call, which was so blatant, right?
Yep.
I really want to pick the Vikings here. I think like they have too much firepower on offense. They're just a much more talented team. Like I've been saying it all year, the Giants are overachieving because of really good coaching. I just wonder if the Vikings are if they will be emotionally exhausted from kind of like the moment. Now, if they can win, then that will like show me that they have kind of like the emotional intelligence to kind of manage the the highs and lows of a season or like of a certain stretch. So I'm gonna pick Minnesota, just because again they're the better team on paper. They have more weapons, and I don't think the Giants would be able to keep up. Again, this is a 1 p.m. slot, so I'll pick Minnesota, and I'll say 27-17 because I don't think the Giants can keep up, but I am going to be keeping an eye on if this might be a letdown game for Minnesota after that high from last week.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, coming back, like making the biggest comeback in NFL history, you're right. That is, I didn't really factor that into, playing this into this game because I don't respect the Giants. And I think whatever. I mean, there's some conspiracies, right? Like you want a New York team in the playoffs and all this kind of stuff. And I'm starting to be convinced after I saw that at the end of that game because not only did the referee, Terry McLaurin looked at the referee I think 2 or 3 times to try to make sure that he was set on the line, and he said he heard the referee said he was good and set on the line. So to call him on that, I think is BS. And then also for not only in the field of play for them not to call that defensive PI, but then the referee that's like in that whatever that ESPN booth said it was PI. After the game, they came and said it was PI. I don't know how you don't call that. So, whatever. Call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever. I think that they're trying to push New York into these playoffs, and somebody who's a fan of another team trying to get into those playoffs, I think that it's absolutely, pushing some. I don't know. If that stuff exists, I think that they are kind of trying to do it with this one. So
well, it's kind of funny you say that because we have heard nothing but praise for this Giant. Like I have never the whole year. It was like the Giants are a top 10 team. The Giants, bro, everybody sees they are not that good. Like they are just again overachieving.
Yeah.
It was like every time I would watch Florio or whatever, it was like, oh well, there's something to be said about them being 7-1. Like, okay, that's cool, but we can all see that this is gonna fall off. Like the wheels are gonna fall.
And they
off
did.
And they did.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean that's. Yeah, it might be the New York media bias. You never know, man.
Yeah, and so with that being said, the Vikings are. If I had a lock this week, it would be for the Vikings, and I'm going to just take them to win this 28-14, both emotionally and because I just think they have much more talent. But you're right. You bring up a good point in that there might be a letdown. I hope that's not the case. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals at the New England Patriots. Bengals are favored by only 3 points here, which is a bit of a surprising line. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
So I think that this is a situation. I'm looking at the line. I think this is a situation where once again, people may be falling into kind of like, uh, you're victims of the past per se, and you're looking at Belichick and like this whole aura of like Foxborough and the Patriots, and I think they're looking at the fact. So the Bengals have lost 7 straight road games at the Patriots, with the last time them winning being 1986.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the only reason
Oof.
I can see them being favored by only 3 here. The Bengals have been the hottest team, and other than the Jaguars, I think the Bengals have been the hottest team in the league. And unlike the Jaguars, I think the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender. Like, they're capable of, going all the way. So for them to be only favored by 3 is kind of it's a bit of a shock to me, especially because the way I understand it is the home team gets 3 anyway, right?
True.
Isn't that how it works?
True.
So I would have the Bengals, favored by maybe like 5 or 6 here. I think they win this, not a blowout, but pretty convincingly. I'll say 31 to 23. 31 to 23 sounds about right to me. Actually, you know what? No, 31 to 20, because that offense is a little.
What up, homies?
Yo.
What up, man?
What's going on?
Yo, I hope it's okay if I join the party.
Of course, man. Of course. Yeah. No, Amar was just talking. So we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals at the New England Patriots here,
All right.
and we're talking about how. So, but before we finish, Amar, go ahead and finish your point on who do you think is
Yeah,
going to
yeah. So I just think that the Bengals are they're like kind of peaking at the perfect time, and I think they keep going, and I think my guy Joe Burrow just keeps doing his thing, and I think the Patriots, I don't think they have the offense to keep up if the Bengals get going. So I'll say like 31 to 20. I think Cincinnati wins that game.
All right. Abdullah Yaqubi, thank you so much for joining, man. I'm loving the hair. I'm loving the locks, man. What do you think is going to happen in this Bengals versus Patriots game?
It's hard with the Patriots because you never know which Patriots are going to show up each week. It's like last week was a kind of a crazy loss for them, but they still put up 25 points. But it just doesn't seem like they've got the momentum right now. I feel like the Bengals probably have a little bit more momentum than the Patriots do. So, but it's hard for me to think it's going to be a landslide. It's a Bill Belichick team, so I probably give the nod to the Bengals by a touchdown. So, I'll say probably 24 to 17 Bengals.
Yeah, Omar Yusuf brought up an amazing stat that the Bengals haven't won in New England since 1986. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Since 1986.
Wow.
They're on the Cincinnati. And you know what? Listen, I'd be scared to face a Belichick coach team after what happened to them last week because he is absolutely chewing them out in practice and threatening their lives after they made that kind of mistake because he doesn't make that mistake. He says, do your job. Jacoby Myers didn't do his job. Mac Jones didn't do his job by trying to tackle Chandler Jones. That was kind of pathetic. But they will absolutely correct the mistakes from last week. Maybe that's why they're giving him, only like 3 points, essentially. So it's also at New England. New England's always a tough place to play. I could see it absolutely being a trap game here, but I think the Bengals are just too talented, and they're playing for the AFC North division. They have too much to play for here. So I'm just going to.
1 seed.
Oh, they're playing for the 1 seed too.
I mean, they're a game out.
Okay. That's even more incentive. So I'm taking the Bengals here. I think it's going to be surprisingly close. I think it's going to be 24-23 Bengals. So moving on to the next game, the Detroit Lions at the Carolina Panthers. Lions are favored by 2.5 points here. We'll start with you, Abdullah. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
Gosh, man. I think the Lions will get the win, but the Carolina Panthers are also this crazy sneaky team because, honestly, I don't count them in on any week, but they have 6 wins this season. So, they're sneaking in wins when we'd least expect it. A lot of people wrote this team off when, their quarterback situation really just went sour with Baker and then Sam getting injured early on, but now he's coming back. The thing is, the Lions are just, I feel like they have some of these really incredible wins, and their offense is clicking better. Goff is actually having a really good year, statistically speaking. So, I'm going to give the nod to the Lions. I'll probably do it a 10-point difference, though. I think it's going to be maybe 24-14.
24-14. All right. Oh, why?
Yeah, man. So here's a crazy way of looking at it. This is a game of 2 playoff contenders. The Panthers are a game out, I think, of first place in the NFC South.
What a pathetic division.
It's crazy, right? It's like crazy. So this might be a sneaky good game because I think not like good. Actually, let me reword that. This might be a sneaky competitive game.
Yeah.
I don't think it could be like good like football, but I think both teams have a lot to play for here. I think the difference is that unlike the Panthers, I think the Lions have enough talent to actually be a good football team, and I think they've been a good football team, especially second half of the season. I think they were like, what was it, like 1-7 or it was something crazy.
They're 1-6 now. They're 7-7.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I think they're gonna do it, man. I think they're gonna sneak into the playoffs. I do, because they're just hot. The offense has been really good all year. They have good running backs. The defense, which is probably the most important thing, has been playing better. They're not like horrendous anymore. So I think that they will probably just put up too many points and too much offense for Carolina to keep up. So I'll say 33 to 17. The Lions win that game.
Okay. Yeah, Lions have been on an incredible run. I mean, honestly, it's been awesome to see because they're like one of those fun teams to watch. But I just don't think it's in their culture to keep this up. Okay. And Carolina, like you mentioned, is playing for a division title at, what are they, 6-8 or something?
5-9.
5-9. They're still playing for a division title. It's amazing. And the Sam Darnold to DJ Moore connection is very strong. And they've needed somebody to get that ball to DJ Moore all year. All the other quarterbacks have done a terrible job at it. He's finally the one that's doing it. Listen, man, I think the Panthers run and pass all over this Lions defense, who has been improved, and I think that they win this game because it helps the Seahawks. 28-25.
Well,
Panthers win.
You know what? So I have this pulled up. So Jared Goff, I guess he's currently on like the longest streak of his career without throwing a pick. So it's like 6 games.
Wow.
So yeah. So now that like they point this out, like he's obviously gonna end up throwing like 5 picks or something.
I hope so. J.C. Horn is an amazing cornerback.
He's really good.
He might pick him off twice. I might predict that. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the Atlanta Falcons at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are favored by 6.5 points here. Oh, why? We'll start with you. What do you got?
So, yeah, this is kind of a weird game. Kind of a lackluster game. But here's the thing. Falcons are also playoff contenders. They're also a game out of the division, right? They're not that far off. I think going to Ritter has been good for the offense, or at least the run game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have. Is he a rookie? Tyler
Algier, yeah.
Yeah. I was reading up on him a little bit, and everybody is very high on his potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're saying that his floor is very high. So I think that's something that I would be keeping an eye on here. I'm not confident in them to win this game at Baltimore. Again, Baltimore is a playoff contender. They're a wild card contender, and I'm gonna pick them. I don't know if they'll cover though. That's the thing. Like Baltimore's kind of a weird team to me. I know how you feel about Lamar, but I feel like Lamar can give them enough juice, enough offense. Here, I don't know. I'll say that they win this like 20 to like 16 or something. But
Okay.
again, like that whole NFC South is kind of weird. I think we'll know a lot more after this week when some of these teams are officially eliminated. But like it could start getting pretty crazy if you have like a 5-10 or a 6-9 team or something competing for number one, a division lead.
I know. Insane. Yakubi, who do you got?
So is Lamar back and is he playing this week?
He's not actually.
Okay.
Huntley's going to start.
Huntley's going to start.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to choose this game to be my upset so far of the week. And it's only because it's one of those games where, like, one, I know John Harbaugh is his team is always well coached, and they're always fighting. But Lamar's not started. Huntley, even though I think he's he can produce quality games. He's won games last year, but the Ravens are known to give a game or two when you least expect it, and when you don't expect it. And that's the thing about their team this year that I just kind of been like scratching my head because they'll give up a game or two when they shouldn't have. So, and I actually don't think the Falcons are really that talented, unfortunately. Like, I know they went to Ritter, and I think he only completed like 50% of his passes last week, and like the majority of his targets went to that rookie receiver, I think Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
Cordarrelle Patterson is back. He gives them that, Swiss Army knife playmaker. I think they squeak by because the Ravens kind of fumbled this one away. J.K. Dobbins is back. He's been having a couple of good consecutive games, even though when I look at him run, he doesn't look like he's 100%, but he's been producing some good numbers. So I'm gonna say this is a low-scoring game, and the Falcons squeak away with the win. I'll say 17-14 Falcons with the upset.
Yeah, as you guys mentioned, these are two bad teams here. They're just, I thought Huntley actually was going to be the answer for this team, and they were going to let Lamar walk. Huntley hasn't looked that great, so neither of these teams have quarterbacks that are good yet. I think Ritter has opportunity to be good. Huntley, I don't know. He's going to have to prove something here.
Well, they might let Lamar walk anyway. But anyways.
Yeah, well, I think they should. And like you guys mentioned, both of these teams are fighting for a division title. Last week, I saw something that I never thought I'd see, which is Justin Tucker missed 2 very makeable field goals. I don't know what's going on with this Ravens team, but something's up. Something's not. And even like you mentioned, J.K. Dobbins, he's like one of the most injury-prone players. Poor guy, just like he may get injured again. Like like you said, he doesn't look like he's very. Even though he gets the yards, he just doesn't seem like it's all back together. I just like the Falcons more here, to be honest with you. And like you mentioned, it's funny you mentioned Algier, but he broke out for 140 yards last week.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, he's a former linebacker from college, and he converted himself to a running back. And I think he's been great. And I think I saw him in a preseason BYU. This guy's a great player. In the preseason projection for running backs, I thought he was going to be very good. And moving forward for this team, he's going to be the running back for them. So I'm going to pick the Falcons here to win this game 20-14. So moving on to the Washington Commanders at the San Francisco 49ers. Niners here are favored by 6.5. I don't think that's enough. Yakubi, what do you think?
Wow. So the 49ers defense is one of, I would say, the highlights of the NFL season. I mean, there's just so much fun to watch. This is a squad that just emanates, highest standard of quality football on the defensive side. And it's a very difficult team to beat because of their defense. And I have them highly favored to make a very good playoff run this year just because of that defense. The crazy thing is these Commanders strangely are in this playoff race, albeit it's a wild card right now. they did hand the Eagles their first loss of the year, which was a huge upset that no one, kind of saw coming. Is this game in San Francisco or is it here in DC?
San Francisco.
It's in San Francisco. I think a part of me would love to see the Commanders upset the 49ers. I think I'm kind of hoping for it, right? But I don't think I'm going to get my wish come true this week, unfortunately. So I'm going to say the 49ers win this one, and but I think that the Commanders won't make it too easy for them, but there'll be a big enough difference. I'm going to call it 20-13, 49ers.
Close one. Oh, why?
Yeah, I think Yakubi's saying this 49ers defense is so good. They're the best defense in the league. I think they have established that pretty clearly. So much talent. And here's the crazy thing. It's like they have so many injuries, on offense, and I think they've had them on defense as well. They keep going. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's like a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
They're really well coached. The culture is great. And I've been so high on them. Like, I hate saying this. Like, they're historically a rival team for me, but I have a lot of respect for their culture, and I've been very high on that team as like an NFC contender. But guys, this is my upset pick of the week.
No!
I'll tell you what, I don't take any joy in saying this. I don't want to see the Commanders in the playoffs or anything.
Me neither.
The Commanders, so the Niners, everybody knows they have the best defense in the league. Statistically, the Commanders are actually number 3. The Commanders are giving up the third least yards in the league. They're 9th in points allowed. This is going to be the stingiest defense that Brock Purdy has played yet. I don't really think, from what I remember, he's played, a legit stingy defense yet. Now, the counter to that is obviously, okay, what can Taylor Heineke, or if Carson Wentz plays, what can they do against the 49ers offense, right? Against 49ers defense, and that's fair. Like, that makes a lot of sense. But guys, the NFL is weird. It's a strange lady, as they say, and I think the Commanders pull off the upset of the week here. I think it's going to be a late field goal, 20-17. But I just want to point out that this has no impact on how I feel about the 49ers. I think they're still like one of the top teams, one of the top 2 teams probably right now in the NFC. I just think it's one of those games, where the NFL kind of throws a curveball at you. And I can see it happening this week.
Wow. You have a vision. Yeah, I mean, that would be wild, man. Couple of things here. So last week's game, I saw them play my team last week. I think the final score was 21-13, but it really should have been 28-7. I mean, Geno came back that last second touchdown, and then they wiped off a pick 6. So it was really like a 28-7 win by the Niners last week. And when they talked to Ron Rivera this week, he refused to commit to Taylor Heineke, like you mentioned. I don't know if they're going to maybe sub in Carson Wentz or what they're going to do, but when you start teetering on your starting quarterback like that, I think that there are issues. So I'm just going to take the Niners to crush them, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be 40-20. I've seen enough from both of these teams. I mean, I watch the Niners every week, unfortunately, and I see the Commanders as well. And I just think that, I don't know, the Niners just know how to win. Great defense. They're gonna kill Heineke. I'm just taking them to crush them. I think it's gonna be 40-20. So
it's the same pick, man.
Yeah.
It could very well happen.
Yeah, we'll see. But we're gonna move on to the game of the week now. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 4.5 points. Cowboys are favored by 4.5 points. Oh, why?
Yeah, man. I was so excited for this game. Like, ever since we played them back in week 4 or 5, whatever it was, I have been looking forward to this game the whole year. But fizzled out a little bit. You know, like we kind of blew it last week. Not kind of, we did blow it last week. We choked away that game. You know, we should have beat the Jaguars. We lost that game, and we kind of essentially like handed the Eagles the keys to the division and maybe the number one seed at this point. The Eagles, with Jalen Hurts being out, that also takes away from this. Like, I want to play them at their best, and like that takes away from the game for me. So I'm not as excited as I was, to be quite honest with you. I mean, of course, I'm still up for this game. We still have a shot at the division. We have to win out. They have to lose out. I don't see that happening. But, I think, it's kind of funny. It's at the start of the year, everybody said top to bottom, the Eagles are probably a better roster. And you know what? I think I agree. I think, like, their offensive line is the best in the league. I think their defense is stout. I think their offensive weapons are very good. I think A.J. Brown right now is, I kind of made the point yesterday. I think A.J. Brown is probably the best receiver in the division, although I do think C.D. Lamb is kind of he's closing the gap a little bit. But I think right now A.J. Brown is probably a little bit better. I still, and I will continue to maintain the difference maybe at quarterback. I think the Cowboys have the edge at quarterback. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts. He's an MVP contender. It's amazing what he's done this year. I think, I feel less confident actually, and it's kind of weird, with Hurts out this game. Like if Hurts was playing, I feel like we would be very up for this game. I wouldn't expect us to overlook this team. I just wonder if in the back of their minds they're like, oh well, he's not there, that kind of thing. And if you play like that against this team, you will lose because they are very talented. He has weapons outside. They have that offensive line. The defense is very good. You will lose if you're not up for this game. And it's funny, if you look at the side-by-side comparisons of these two teams, like offense, defense, how many points they're scoring, how many points they're giving up, pass yards a game, rush yards a game, they're pretty close. Like, it's very eerie how close they are. I'm going to take Dallas. I think, I'm less confident in it than I was previously. Our defense hasn't been playing that well lately. We gave up 500 yards and 40 points to the Jaguars, or I guess 33. One was like a pick six, but that was like inexcusable. If you're trying to be like a championship caliber defense, that's inexcusable. So I need to see them rebound this week. I get that Jalen Hurts is out, but I need to see you show up, and I need to see you take care of business, right? I'm not saying I need to see like a 40-10 game. I just need to see you show up, because the chances of you blowing out the Eagles is low. That's a good team. But if the Cowboys can win this game like 28-24, I will be very happy depending on how they play. I need to see them show up. I need to see the offense, which, by the way, has been very good. It's been, for the most part, it's been like the number one offense or close to the number one offense since Dak's been back. I do think we need a receiver. We have problems with receivers creating separation. CeeDee Lamb's getting like double and triple teamed, and we don't have like another weapon outside of your boy Tony Pollard, right? We don't really have like another guy.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah, Pro Bowler. But I need to see that, and I would love to see Micah kind of get back to dominating games. I think something's going on. He's either been sick or hurt, or something's going on, because he hasn't been making as many splash plays as he was making previously. So that's what I'm going to be on the lookout for. I expect it to be a close game, because the Eagles are too talented, even without Hurts, for us to blow them out. So I'll say that, and I will say that Hurts, he is, even though I maintain what Micah was saying was he made some very valid points, I don't think that takes away from what Hurts has done this year. I will still respect what Hurts has done. I just think that the Eagles, top to bottom, are a very good roster, and that's something that the Cowboys have to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, great analysis there. Yeah, Jacoby, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
So before I give my analysis, who does Who does Vegas have winning this game?
Cowboys favored by 4.5.
Oh, Cowboys favored by 4.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say before I even heard that, Cowboys should win this game. Okay, they should win this game. And the game is going to be played where, Dallas or
At Dallas. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's going to be home in Dallas.
Yeah.
So Dallas should win this game. If they don't, it will be a huge disappointment for Dallas. Okay, I mean, it's at home, and their starting quarterback for the Eagles is not playing. Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew's coming in, although he's serviceable backup. They should win this game. However, okay, I'm probably, here's the thing about the Eagles. All right, I personally think the Eagles' identity has been they've been playing complementary football. It's a sign of a really solid overall team, an overall roster. I think they can actually weather the absence of Jalen Hurts, because their offensive power that they have in weapons with A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, Goddard, and Devontae Smith, right? The creativity of their offensive play calling, and then you couple that with a strong, solid defense on all three levels. Their defense has talented athletes. I think they have more players with 6+ sacks than any other team. Right, they know how to do blitz schemes. They've got a lot of different guys who can put pressure on the quarterback. So I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for the Cowboys. I think they should win. However, I think there's ways to mitigate the loss of Jalen Hurts, by really putting together longer drives, shortening the game, utilizing the running, play action, things of that nature, and just playing, stifling defense. I think this is going to be, an unfortunate upset, but a close one. I can see this game going into overtime, but I'm only going to give the nod to the Eagles by 3, 27-24. And I think we realize a game like this is going to be. I think it's going to be telling as to, is this a really caliber Eagles team that is true to their record? Because I remember when the Broncos, go way back now, when Elway went down and Bubby Brister came in, right? The Broncos won several games towards the end of the season with Bubby Brister. Why? Because they played complementary football. They had a solid defense, and they had a good run game, and that's a lot of what the Eagles have. And this is no knock against the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are a talented team. I think they should win this game, like I mentioned. I think they're going to be a playoff team. And I actually do hope to see the Cowboys go further than they have been in the past 2 this year, because they had a really disappointing end to their season last year in the playoffs. And by no means are the Cowboys going to come out flat. They're going to be ready for this game. I mean, they lost, in dramatic fashion last week, and I don't think that's going to happen in such a dramatic way. But I think what this is going to show us is the overall talent of the Eagles team, and that they're a strong overall team that's playing solid complementary football, and they edge the victory here with a 27-24 victory.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of good points there. So I think Minshew is actually a better passer than Jalen Hurts. He's no ordinary backup. I just saw, so his stats are he has 41 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Whoa.
I mean, those are not like backup numbers. He is, I think, probably the best backup in the league. He's a very, very good passer of the ball. I think this is going to be a very physical, gritty game. I think there's going to be multiple fights in this game. These guys don't like each other. I mean, I could tell, through the media, these teams don't like each other. What's been mentioned before is I've seen kind of a deficiency in that second cornerback position for Dallas over these past few weeks. And when you have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, I think that they can really take advantage of that deficiency there. Like you mentioned, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, I think they've been playing amazingly well. And you know what, OY? If this doesn't go down this way and the Cowboys win, you're going to have so much to talk about. But I'm actually going to take the Eagles to barely win this game. I'm taking them 28-27. And I think that these teams are going to meet again in the playoffs. And I think that might be fuel for the Cowboys to win when they meet again in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So-
no, I can totally see that. I think the Eagles are so well, like, as much as I hate them, like, and I hate them, as you know,
Mhm.
I have to respect how well they're playing. I have to respect, who they are. One kind of general point I just wanted to make is when we say that, like, these teams will be okay without their quarterbacks, it's not necessarily a knock against the quarterback. It's more so a praise of how good a team is constructed. And, we experienced that, like, early in the season when Dak went down. We won like 4 games with Cooper Rush. And, that doesn't mean that Cooper Rush is as good as Dak. It just means that the team is very well constructed. The coaches did a great job of game planning with Cooper Rush to win those games. Like Yakubi was saying, complementary football. I think the Eagles can do that. Unfortunately, I think they can do that with Gardner Minshew, who is more talented, probably better than Cooper Rush, who I love, by the way. So it's not necessarily a knock. I agree with you. I think Minshew is probably a better passer than Hurts. I think what Hurts gives you is the athleticism, the ability to run. Kind of playing outside of the game plan. He gives you a lot more of that. But the strength of this Eagles team, guys, is like that offensive line, the perimeter with those receivers. Like, they have a very deep roster, and it's not a knock to say that I don't think that they'll lose a beat just because of how well they're constructed. That's kind of like all we're saying when we say that.
Right.
So,
Well, to add to that point, a different quarterback does play a big difference in the game. It's like look at the difference of the Jets quarterbacks. In fact, you have White and then you have Wilson, right? It's the same team, it's the same offense, it's the same schemes and whatever it is. But look at the outcome. So a quarterback can make a very big difference on the outcome of the game. Obviously, I think that does go with that being said. So, I think it's also, it could be a stretch to say that Minshew is going to have the same type of success as Jalen has had too. Obviously, he's earned that starting position and whatnot. So, I think it will have an effect on the Eagles. And I think if the Cowboys are going to win this game, they gotta finish the game strong. The Cowboys have had really decent first halves in a lot of games, and and then the second half of games, besides that Colts game where they just went on a craze in the fourth quarter, like, they sometimes lose the game in the fourth quarter on some of these games that they've lost. So I feel like I could see the Cowboys starting hot. I just, if the question is if they're going to be able to finish out a game against the Eagles. But this is definitely going to be an interesting. I'm actually excited for this game too, as well, because I think it really is like a pre-playoff game as well. That these teams hate each other. They're both fighting. Obviously, they both have high aspirations for this year. They both are Super Bowl contenders. So it's like this is definitely a pre-playoff game. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out. And I think that if the Eagles win, it's going to be an indication of the strength of their overall team, and it will only shoot them up even higher on the probability of winning, the Super Bowl if they do come out with a victory. And, and if the Cowboys win, well, it's expected. They should win this game. And because that's what, Las Vegas has them winning this game. And it's more of a disappointment if the Cowboys lose than if the Eagles lose.
Yeah.
So if the Eagles win, this is going to really give them even more momentum. And, more popularity for going even further in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great points. We have 5 more games left, so we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. So, Las Vegas Raiders at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 2 points here. Yakubi, who do you got?
My bad. I didn't realize. I thought that was the last game you guys
No,
did.
no,
But
it's
my
all good.
bad.
It's all good.
So this is the Raiders against two?
Raiders against the Steelers, at the Steelers.
At the Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the nod to the Raiders. They coming off a crazy win against the Patriots. Josh McDaniels beating his old head coach in that fashion is just
Sweet.
historic and epic. And they've had some crazy, weird victories this second half of the season. Josh Jacobs has been a huge surprise as to his production this year. I mean, he's just taking a boost, and you just don't know what type of Raiders are going to show up. And the Steelers, I think they're just kind of inconsistent. So I'm going to give the victory to the Raiders, and I'll call this one probably 24-14.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Oh, why?
So everything Yakubi said makes sense. I think the Raiders are a much more talented, at least on offense, team, and they've been playing great. But I think the emotion about Franco Harris this week is going to come. Football is an emotional game. Yakubi, as you know, you played it. I think the Steelers win this game. Very close game. I don't think that there's enough of a gap between these two teams where I see either one running away. So I think the Steelers win this. They're at home. They're going to be rocking, 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, and Franco Harris passes away. Yeah, that place is going to be emotional. I think 23-20 Pittsburgh wins this.
That's a good one. I agree with that.
Yeah, you make some good points. All the emotion is behind them. The anniversary, Franco Harris passing away, Raiders coming off a big emotional win. Steelers have more of a winning culture than the Raiders these days. Everything points to the Steelers winning this. But I just think the Raiders have been surprising us all year and going against everything we expect. So, in one of those things that somebody, you guys mentioned earlier, this just happens in the NFL. I think the Raiders are just gonna win this game. So I'm gonna go Raiders 23-20. Moving now to the Green Bay Packers at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are favored by 3.5. Oh, why? Who you got?
So real quick, I'll say this is another upset that I have this week. I think we talked about this before. Miami, I like Mike Daniels. I like what they're doing. Those receivers are crazy, but they seem like they're overachieving a little bit, right? Like just a little bit. I think Green Bay, unfortunately, might be getting hot right now. I don't think they're very talented. I just think Rodgers has been playing well. I think the running game has been going a little bit. So I think Green Bay ekes this one out. I'll say 27-20. I don't know if it's enough to make the playoffs, but I think Green Bay keeps kind of their winning going, at least for a little bit here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Yakubi, who do you got?
Man, we got to thank the coaching tree that produced Mike McDaniels. Let's start off with that, because this guy has just been a joy to watch, see his personality. He's got such a unique personality as a head coach. I don't think I saw him being this successful this soon in his head coaching career. I kind of wish the Broncos got him because I love his personality so much. He started off the season beating Bill Belichick, and he beat John Harbaugh, and there was one other guy.
The Bills. They beat the Bills.
The Bills.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy has. It seems like he's when it gets tough, he gets going, and he seems like he's got something up his sleeve. He's also not afraid to pull the trigger from time to time. And they got Tyreek Hill, man. He's one of the most crazy offensive weapons out there with Jalen Waddle. So, I know that the Packers are getting hot. They should win this game. We should see a traditional Aaron Rodgers performance because it matters the most right now for them. But this is more of a Miami Dolphin year, I see, than the Packers. I see them, squeaking out the win on this one. I'm going to call it 31-24 the Dolphins with the win.
Dolphins, yeah. So Frank the Tank Fleming from Barstool Sports, he had a podcast recently I listened to, and he's a Dolphins fan. He was rattling off over the past 20 years how many times the Dolphins have dove in December. They are known to have terrible, terrible Decembers. I think he rattled off maybe like 10 of the last 20 years. They've just like bottled playoff chances. Um, but I think because this one is at Miami, and Miami I think is a bad team in bad weather, but in good weather I think they play well. So yeah, despite I think that they're just more talented overall. I'm gonna give them this game 27-20. Moving now to Yakubi's Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Rams. Broncos are favored by 3 points. Abdullah, floor is yours.
I'm so disappointed in the Broncos. I'm utterly heartbroken and just completely disappointed in the Broncos. I can care less if they win.
I don't like, yeah, man. I don't like to see apathy from you, man. You're one of the biggest football fans, and I hate to see what this has done to you, man.
This has been an abysmal year, man. This game against the LA, it's strange though because similarly, the Los Angeles Rams don't look like their usual self either tonight. Obviously, Stafford's not playing, and I don't even know if is Bradford. What's his name? Baker playing? Is he the starting quarterback?
Yeah.
And this is going to be in Denver?
No.
LA.
Yeah.
It's going to be in LA.
Yep.
Here's how I see this. The Broncos had a huge victory last week against the Cardinals. They almost pulled up a huge comeback and upset on the Kansas City Chiefs the weeks before. They get Russell Wilson back this week, and the Broncos' run game last week was great as well. Freaking Murray had like over 120 yards, I think, rushing, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong by that. And Marlon Mack is playing sneaky good. Jerry Jeudy's been playing decent. So, and their defense is still solid. So, and we got Randy Gregory back. So, I actually could see the Broncos having a moral victory here, getting their 5th win of the pathetic season this year. So, I'll give them the edge with a victory of, I'm going to call it 20-13.
Okay. Before we move, I just want to say, you said Russell Wilson's coming back this week. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So, I'm only thinking it's a good thing because of how he played against Kansas City. That's he was orchestrating that comeback against the Chiefs until he got hurt, and I think he's going to build off of that momentum. A, B, seeing his backup quarterback get the first victory in 6 weeks, I think is going to motivate him even more. Also, the fact that the Broncos know now they can run the ball, I think it's these different things combined together are going to give them the edge. So I think it's going to be a good thing for them this week that Russell Wilson is coming back. And so that's my take on it.
Okay. All right. Oh, why?
So real quick, the best unit on the field is the Broncos defense. And it's by a lot. This is an elite unit, right? They're number 4, I think, in yards a game and number 3 in points a game. So this is an elite unit, and the Rams haven't been good all year. And my bold prediction for this game, I think the Broncos offense kind of wakes up here. I don't know if it carries over or like next week, but I think Russell Wilson plays his best game of the year here. And I think they score 28 points, which is a lot for that offense. But I think this is something, this is one of those games where it's an anomaly, but I see Denver winning this, with like an offensive outpouring of the season, 28-17. I see them beating the Rams. I don't think much of the Rams. They haven't been good all year, and I think the Broncos defense has been elite, and Baker's going to have a very tough time. I know he had that great drive at the end of the game, but that wasn't the Broncos defense, right? And he's going to have a very tough time, I think, moving the ball against that defense. So, 28-17, Russell Wilson throws 4 touchdowns.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah. So okay. Okay. I kind of dropped this in the chat last week. I was kind of impressed by Brett Rippon a little bit. I thought some of the little parts of his game, like that fake that he had, like when he was like trying to hand it off, fake handoff. He does that really really well, and then he passed to the open guy. I think Dulcich for the touchdown. I don't know that they should bench him. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson. You were in Seattle for all these years. I don't know. Brett Rittman, you finally got your first win. Now you're playing another team that's similar to the Cardinals, maybe even worse. You set them up for success here. I would have been a fan of them. Well, not a fan because, sorry, I want the Broncos to keep losing for the Seahawks draft pick. I'm sorry. But I think they would have had a better chance with Rippon during this game, to be honest with you, even though I agree. He played amazing against Kansas City, Russ did. It's just he's coming back so soon from this concussion. And he did this also in Seattle. He had that concussion water that he kept drinking, and he tried to come back, and he came back too soon, and he just played so bad. So I don't know if he's coming back too soon from this concussion. Yeah, this is going to be a crazy game. Everything points to the Broncos winning this game, obviously, but I'm just going to a homer pick and just 17-14 Rams, so the Seahawks can get a better pick. And I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong for especially Jacoby's sake. I mean, because I don't want him to see any more losing. So anyway, we'll move on to the next game here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Arizona Cardinals. Bucks are favored by 7.5. Why? Who you got?
Unfortunately, I think the Buccaneers are going to win this game. I just, Tom Brady, it's weird. He hasn't been playing well statistically, and I think he's starting, the age is starting to catch up to him. It seems like it's starting to catch up to him. The Buccaneers are also like an old team, and I think that might be catching up to them as well. But the Cardinals are bad, guys. They're just bad, and they always play bad, at the end of the year, at least with Kingsbury. You don't have Kyler Murray. You don't have, your most explosive player. I just don't see this as much of a game. I really want the Buccaneers to lose here. I want them out of the playoffs. But, I think that they win this game, and I'll say 24-14. Tampa Bay wins this one.
All right. Yeah, Jacoby, Tom Brady. What do you think he does?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's having a strange string of games here the past couple of weeks. And, a lot of these little sound bites and little quick videos of him that we see, he takes out his frustration on his team. I think it's really him kind of realizing that, shit, he's part of the problem, And, but, this is not the same Tampa Bay Buccaneer team as last year. But because it's the Cardinals, and for the same reasons as Amar mentioned, McSorley, I think this is their third string quarterback, is going to be starting this game. He threw 3 picks, I think, against the Broncos last week. And I just don't have that much confidence in the Cardinals. And I think that the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers come up with a victory that they should have this week, keeping them in playoff contention, and bouncing back. So I'm going to give a win of 20-10 on this one.
Yeah. I'm going to keep it simple. Both of these teams play the most boring brands of football out of anybody in this league. The running backs, James Conner, a plotter. Same thing for the Bucks. Rashad White and Leonard Fournette, they're just plotters. There's nothing exciting about them. Tom can't get a connection with his receivers most games, and it's perplexing. It makes no sense. They just barely score any points all season. McSorley at quarterback, what the hell is he going to do? I mean, you have so many great weapons, but he's just such a bad quarterback. So I'm going to take the Bucks winning this game in a snooze fest, 10-9. Moving on to the Monday night game, last game of the week. Los Angeles Chargers at the Indianapolis Colts. Chargers are favored by 4. Jacoby, who you got?
What's the story of the Colts being in some games? I mean, the Colts should be in no games. They should have the fewest wins out of any. But yet, but yet they pull up these crazy upsets. I know they lost to the Vikings last week in a crazy upset, but comeback. But why the hell did they score 33 points in the first half to begin with? Like, what the hell is up with the water that these Colts are drinking with, aging Matt Ryan, who barely looks like he's being held up by sticks, by toothpicks, man? Like, I don't get it. So, the Chargers should absolutely win this game. If they don't, it's an atrocity to the football brand. If the Colts pull up another, upset or put up that many points, they shouldn't. The Chargers should absolutely win this game. They should walk all over them. It should be, in my opinion, 30 to 7.
Ooh, blowout.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, why? Who you got?
I agree that the Chargers should win this game. I'm a little surprised the spread isn't just a little bit bigger, maybe closer to 6 or 7. I think so, and I've said this a few times. I think the reason that the Colts are in these games is because their defense is okay. Their defense isn't like bad, And I think if they had Shaq Leonard, I think their defense would actually probably be good. But having said that, I agree with Yakubi that their offense is so bad, especially with Jonathan Taylor being out, right? Matt Ryan, and I have seen this the whole year. I just don't understand why nobody else sees this. Guys, he has happy feet. And you've been playing for 13, 14 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You look so scared back there in the pocket. Every time there's pressure around you, somebody beats his guy. Dude, step up. You're a former MVP who went to the Super Bowl. I can understand if your arm is not where it was. I can understand if you can't run like you used to. Not that he ever could. But, seeing him have happy feet and seeing him play scared is just very weird. And I've been seeing it all year. It is going to be interesting. I do want to see how Nick Foles looks.
Yeah.
Right? Nick Foles is this guy, he can just come in and maybe they're not going anywhere, dude. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not even picking them. I'm just saying, I wonder if he gives them a little spark here on offense, just to kind of generate something within the game itself, right? So that's something I'll be on the lookout for, but I'm going to pick the Chargers to win. It should be a blowout. It should, at least by 2 scores. It should at least be 30 to 17, something like that, right? It doesn't have to be 40 to 6, but for the Chargers' sake, the Chargers are another one of these teams where we've kind of talked about some teams where, guys, how are you losing these games, and why is it every year, right? You have some crazy thing that happens towards the end of the year. I think a lot of it in the past, in recent years, has been the coaching. I think Brandon Staley's kind of to me. You have a really good quarterback, let's do what he likes to do. Let's kind of showcase him, and let's not make stupid decisions here, So they should win this game very handedly. I will pick them 30 to 17 to win this game, but I will be interested in seeing how Nick Foles looks in his very oddly his first action of the season. He should have been playing a long time ago based on how Matt Ryan has been looking. So, yeah.
Yeah, and even Sam Ellinger was starting ahead of him for some reason. But you're right, Colts benching Matt Ryan for Nick Foles here. But I have a little bit of a different take on this because I think that Jeff Saturday is absolutely scapegoating Matt Ryan here because he's now given up. Okay, Jeff Saturday has been a coach for what, 4 weeks? 4 weeks. He's now given up the most points in a quarter against the Cowboys and given up the biggest lead in NFL history. All right, and this is this is 50% of his NFL career. All right, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Great point.
Doesn't know what he's doing. Okay. And like you mentioned, Abdullah, Matt Ryan scored 33 points in that first quarter, right? I mean, he led an offense that scored 33 points in that first quarter. They gave up 39 points in the second quarter. I don't know how you're blaming this on. He's doing this to save his job. Essentially, is what I'm saying. Jeff Saturday is benching Matt Ryan in favor of Nick Foles to save his job. and he is deflecting all of this. And it seems like a lot of people are talking about Matt Ryan. I agree with you guys. I don't think he's been a great quarterback. But to bench him after putting up 33 points like that, that's on you. That's on your defense, giving up 39 points like that in the second. I mean, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. So, what would you say?
No, that's a solid point, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Chargers, on the other hand, they finally have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams back. Okay, and they're looking like a absolutely better team with these guys, and I think that they're like a legitimate threat going forward now. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win this, 30-7. I think somebody else said 30-7 before. Somebody say 30. I think or one of you guys said 30.
I think it was like it should be 30-7 or something.
I'm taking them 30-7. I think Chargers win this game 30-7. So that brings an end to our Week 16 slate here, this Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, as Naif can jump on for one last second here to say a last word. Welcome, Naif. We are against the gun here. We have maybe like 5 minutes left on this call. But
Cowboys by 50.
Cowboys
by 50.
Yeah.
Bucket.
Cowboys by 50 against the Eagles. Nice. Yeah, man. No, it's good to have you on here, man. Anything else you want to say? I know we have like maybe 5 minutes, but I'm just gonna...
Sure. Dennis Allen sucks. Derek Carr sucks. That's it, man. I mean, there's nothing else to talk about. What else?
The Naifisms. Yeah, we talked about it. We missed it.
Allen does suck.
Yeah, he does suck.
He does suck.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
No, we missed you, but Almar Youssef represented the Cowboys well. We had a great long discussion about it. I look forward to you listening to it and giving your feedback, maybe on the recap tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for joining this Week 16 recap or Pick'em Pod. Looking forward to the games this Christmas Eve and Christmas weekend. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, share. If you're listening on podcast platform, go ahead and subscribe there. Leave a 5-star rating. We're on Stitcher, Anchor, Apple. We're on a bunch of them. We're on like 10 of them now, so just get on there and follow us. Follow us as well on Twitter and Instagram, and support this podcast on Ko-fi. Omar Youssef, Abdullah Yaqoubi, NFG. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you at the recap pod. Have a fantastic day, football fans.
All right, fellas.